Well, welcome to Backyard Woodworking. Got a new project coming up here. X-Carve from Inventables. Inventables was nice enough to send me one of their X-Carves, 1000mm with the works. And return, I would give them a good, honest review of their machine, putting it together, and how it works. Do a video cutting a project. So, I graciously accepted their terms, and they sent me one of their machines out. Now, I laid everything out on the board there, and I went through checking for fits, and I went to fit the spindle here into the sleeve, and it wouldn't go. So I contacted them yesterday. They sent me this out today, that fast. Overnighted it. And this one works fine, as you see. So, a little glitch in the road there, but also I worked on the rail, the maker slides. You have to tap the ends with self-tapping screws. I found a nice easy way of doing it and tapped a bunch of them ahead of time, so I'll show it in the video how I did it. So I'm going to start assembling this machine, and what I'm going to do is just shoot little video steps of stuff that I've done. I mean, they have a terrific video online. It shows you what bags the parts are. If you look at each bag has a label right on it with a number. And each step on their instructions with their pictures, it tells you how many of you have to get out of that bag for that particular step, what to do with them and everything else. It's got everything just all well organized, let's put it that way. And there's no sense in me saying, okay, take 4 out of this bag and show you doing taking 4 parts out of a bag and sticking them on a machine or whatever. I'm going to start building this, which is the X-Carriage. This is what carries your spindle for doing the routing. Pulleys, wheels and all that go inside, your V-wheels and your idler pulleys and all. Then the end plates, and then the board has 144 inserts. I'll put them in. Now, I didn't have a 5mm bit. These inserts are 5mm hex. But I have a 3/16, and that seems to, I think that'll do the job. That's pretty close to 5. It's a 64th less of an inch, less than 5mm, basically. So we'll try that, see how that works. I'll do that, because there's 144 of them things to put in, so that'll take a little bit of time. And then I'll check back with you from time to time. No. Okay, now I got the parts laid out I'm going to need out of the bags. Put everything out. Tools you're going to use. Start putting the Z-carriage together, very simple. With this, they say put a screw and a spacer. And one of these, put the bearing towards the spacer. And one of these nylock little nuts. Now, if you got fat fingers, have fun. Okay, and let's do this again. And you take one of these idler pulleys and put that in there. It's hard to do this on the camera because it's inside and you can hardly see it without having a camera. So, and then reach in, get it lined up, and go from there. Alright, well, as you can see, got all the top V-wheels on. They go on eccentric nuts and the 2 idlers in there. If you can see inside, there, that's 6 pieces all together basically, assemblies I should say. Now the bottom here, the bigger holes, that's the ones that are going to get your eccentric nuts, which adjusts this whole mechanism here. So to do that, you get this. Instead, it goes this way. The washer goes in there. The neck goes through like that. And your eccentric nut here with the shoulder has a little shoulder on it. The shoulder goes towards the plate and fits in that little hole there. And you tighten that up and just make sure the shoulder of the nut will sit and seat in that hole. And these, because they're not nylon, they're easy to turn in. You can turn them in all the way. All you gotta do is just snug them up. Very simple. So you take a screw, a V-wheel, and then a washer. Like so. Put it in the hole. Take your nut with the shoulder. Put it on the end of the old 5mm screw. Follow your directions. Make sure you get the right parts from the right bag. There's your X-Carriage basic assembly. Now, you can stop here and put your motors on all at once. That's what I'm going to do. I just want to get all the pulleys done. Next up is going to be your plates for the gantry. These will go back and forth on the Y. These you want to build basically. And these are a suction fit there. Like that. A mirror image. So I'll start getting the parts out for that. Okay, so one plate, you want to make a mirror image so they look like this when put together. These are fairly simple. This should take your longer screw. Bags are marked, no problem. Put your idler on. The spacer goes towards the bearing side. And you put it through the plate. Take a nylock nut. Get her started. Alright, the wheels. You take one of these, get it through the wheel. Now a couple of these I found that there's a little washer in the middle there, like gets out of whack, just take your wrench and straighten it out. Take that, put a washer on it. These go in the top holes with a nylon nut. Repeat the process again, like so. The nut rather on the bottom. In other words, you want this bolt at the lowest part, these wheels all the way down, which gives you the largest distance So when you go to put these on the slide, they're the furthest apart, and they'll slide on like for here. Let's give you a hint. You see how that slides right in? This will ride on your maker slides. This one, the same size as that, but this one's made for the spindle. But you see how it just slides across? Then you adjust these up so you have a good tight fit. Very simple. Not rocket science. I got both of these assembled and this assembled. And let me see, time-wise, let me look. Oh, an hour and a half, maybe. Okay, now mounting the motor is nothing more than finding the right bag of hardware. The hardware, there's 4 little screws, cap screws. The bag's numbered, they're M5 by 10 socket hit cap screw. They come right in with the stepper motor, so match the numbers that's on the computer with them, and then just put the screws in, and your pulleys are kind of self-explanatory. You take the smallest Allen wrench they give you, and that'll fit the little set screws, and tighten them up. Now I adjusted my pulleys. This pulley's got to match these idler wheels inside this. So I don't know if you can see this too well, but the idler wheels are right there. Now this pulley here going to match even with that, so that when the belt runs over it, they track nice and neat. I adjusted mine. Now it's easy to get to. In fact, I adjusted all these. They're all adjusted. That way I won't have a problem later. Next one, just mount the motors to the 2 carriage plates on the end, your stage. Your gantry, I should say. A lot done. We got the X-Carriage here, pretty much wrapped up. Motor, the terminal strip, limit switches, drag chain, attachment there, all the gears and pulleys. I got the pulley aligned with the wheels, that's all ready to go, so that's ready. Right and left plates for your gantry assembly. This is the left one, or the right one rather, excuse me. This is the right plate. Motor, terminal strip, all the V wheels, etc. That's done. The left one, same thing, but only it has a limit switch, terminal block, and your drag chain link. I have at your maker slides. You got 2 for your gantry assembly, and you have 2 for your left and right side for your y-axis. All right. As you can see, these are tapped. Now what I do, and I'll show you, just take my maker slide here, don't matter which end. I'll move the camera down so you can see. Just take it like so. I take hand screw, like so, and hold it down. Now that'll work like that even, no matter. You take your screws, which I have here somewhere, here they are. Take your pinhead screw, the screwdriver here that they give you, put a little oil on your screw. I start it in, just get a thread or 2, put them both in. Take my drill with the appropriate T25 bit, Run them in a little, back them out. In and out a couple of times and then screw them all the way in. Done deal. It takes a couple of minutes. I did all the slides with this one. I'd say maybe 15 minutes, but it took me that long. I've been a busy little bee. You notice all these plates are completely done. I got basically the limit switches, the drag chain brackets here, strips, motors, everything there is on the plates. They're ready to go. I put in all the inserts in the board, which is nothing more than just one at a time. What can I say? There's 144 of them, and it took me about a half hour, I guess, or so. And I've taken my time. This morning I mounted the frame underneath the wasteboard. It's an aluminum extrusion, little square tubing, 20 millimeter square, I believe. And it's just a matter of putting screws and little insertion nuts in there and going to it. I mean, it just, what I did, flip the board upside down and just slide them on, and you just take your time and build 3 sections and flip the board around and put the last section in, and make sure the amount sticking out on the ends, they stick out. Maybe I can show you better. Get this right here on the end. Mine measured about 1 3/16 inches. So that's what I did all around. The back side too, over there. And this whole frame. There's a center section that runs right up the middle here. You can see where the screws are here. Right where my finger is. There's 2 of them with an insertion on them. You just slide that center piece down over the nuts and then just tighten them up enough that it won't fall out. Then you can slide back and forth to get it adjusted. There's little brackets underneath here that it's just a matter of, you know, just follow the directions. It's not hard. Very simple. All right, for the next thing, we're going to put this together. All drum hole that goes in here. Now we take this slide here, and what we're going to do is hold that. Now if you see what I've done here, these have been tapped. You imagine trying to hold all this stuff and tap this thing at the same time? I was watching their video that they have on there. I don't know if you can see much of what I'm doing with my hands in the way, but basically, make sure you orient your V side towards the back of the plate, this side here. And then the other one will go the opposite direction. All you're doing is lining up the way the wheels are in your X-Carriage here. The slotted side gets a washer on it. You use the flat washers you use in the other parts of the build in the bag here. You see now, being tapped, life is a lot easier. All right, I'm going to just leave these loose so we can adjust this as needed. All right, now you take your other chunk, a maker slide, and you're going to turn around the other way. And what I'm doing is why work when you don't have to? Lined up and hold it. See, with all this holding and lining up and all, then you got to tap the screws like I said, you're in for a lot of fun. Now, I don't want to lose this. I'm on wheels here. Woo. Gonna pick a washer up on a flat surface here. These washers are about a 64th of an inch or something. Okay. And this one. Just going to tighten this up a little bit, get the plate straightened out. All right. What you want to do is get this down this way. Make sure that this is loose so it can go where it wants to go. And then you tighten this up. And that should align your rails. And what I'm going to do is move this around like so and do the same here. We're going to slide this down and make sure that these here are tight. And this here is loose, and that'll line these up. Okay. And there you go. You just built the gantry, and that didn't take long. Next part I'm going to do is the y-axis, which is these slides here are going through here, and put the plates on the end of these here that'll bolt to the work surface. And basically we have the machine pretty much assembled. Okay. All right, now I'm screwing an end plate on here. Just like so. Don't forget last two, in the back side here, put these insertion nuts on your X-Carriage here. And also 2 on each of the y-axis here. I didn't mention that the last time, but I'm mentioning it now because then you just have to unscrew it and put them in anyway, so save yourself a little extra work. Okay, well, as you can see, Here we have basically a finished machine with the exception of wiring and hooking the wires to the power supply. But all the mechanicals are done. Your drag chains, links are all installed, belts installed and tensioned. The whole base is all finished. So there it is. That's what I've been doing today, playing around with this on and off. I'll post some more information tomorrow and let you know how my progress goes on the wiring. Hopefully get the wiring finished tomorrow and maybe we can fire this thing up. Alright, okay, we come a long way. It's finished. Now, a couple odds and ends, you know, that I would say make life easier. When you put your maker slides on your machine, I'll get the camera here maybe and it'll be a little easier to just show you if I hold the camera. Now your machine here has a, there we go, get everything right. Your machine here, you'll notice there's a slot at the top of these rails and it's in the directions, but it's hard to not pay attention when you're going here, because I didn't, and I had to, it took me a half hour to correct the problem, that's all. But these slots here have to face up on your rails like this and this. The reason why is, you notice here there's a stop that contacts your limit switch. It's hard for me to show this, I guess, but well, maybe I can lean it up. I marked with a magic marker on my wire, one stripe for the Z, two for the X, and the third one here I just didn't bother marking for the Y here, the Y axis. That way I didn't have to go play games find out which wire was which. I did it before I ran them through these drag chains. That saved me a little bit of time that way and headache. And I did the same, I put little tape around them, the same for the limit switch wires. Now the only pain that I had putting this together was this little connector thing here. The parts are tiny and us older guys here, our eyesight, I got 20/20 at a distance because I had laser surgery, but close up I need glasses, and these things are extremely tiny to solder. And I have a soldering iron, let me see if you can see it, down here in the bottom there, that's a Weller soldering gun. I have all kinds of solder up there. There's a big fat roll and there's a little skinny roll. You want real thin solder, because if you try to solder that with a fat solder, it's just going to glob all over the place and make a mess. So word to the wise, and you want the smallest tip you can get on your soldering gun. Mine was a little large, so I took a file and filed it down to, I made a little point, and it definitely helps out. Another thing to watch is when you insert your wires into these little plugs, make sure you get them in the right spot and tighten the screw down real tight. I had a couple of these pop out in the back here and I thought they were in the right spot, and apparently I was tightening on basically air and I wasn't hitting the wire properly and they come out. And that can create a problem if you're in the middle of a cut or something. Other than that, bumps in the road. They sent me these two wrenches here. The larger one fits the collet. The smaller wrench here is supposed to fit the spindle here. It don't. This wrench here does not fit the spindle. This is a 13 millimeter wrench, as I measured it with my caliper. spindle's 14 millimeter, so to the rescue, I have one 14 millimeter. Another slight problem, and I found out best way with the belts here, just go ahead and put a small cable tie on them, tie wrap, whatever you want to call them. I call them cable ties actually. And same when you do your wire, to get it halfway neat looking, I mean, that is just, you can wrap some wire, one wire around the other where they're going. That helps a little bit. Some cable ties, tidy them up. If you cut your wires similar lengths to where they got to go, like cut all your stepper cables to length, and all the same length, and cut your white wires here all one length, and the black wires that go in there, cut them all the same, and this and that. And if you cut everything, keep it the same length. If you have one longer than the other, then you'll never be able to get them straight. Well, that's it. That's basically what I found to be the difficult. The soldering them little pins was a pain for me because of the size. It was so tiny. And you got to make sure you have the proper soldering iron for that, no doubt about it. Nice small tip and real small solder. You can't use that real fat solder. I got a whole roll of it's a rosin core over there, and if I used that, that would have been a pain in the neck. You have to try to get a little bit on the tip, then touch it to the junction point. But other than that, if you follow your directions, this is fairly simple. It took me about 2 days, I figured, to assemble it, working on and off here and there. I mean, you know, you got interruptions here and there when you have a family. It's a wife and me. But the biggest part of the family is the 4 dogs I got. They can be a pain in the neck. But at any rate, I had fun putting it together. Looks good. It's a brute. I mean, you need about a 4x4 sheet of plywood to set this on. That'll be my next step to figure out what if I'm gonna put it in the shop. Right now, it's too hot out there in the shop to do much. Till I can get that thing insulated and air conditioned, it's just a brute to work in. You know, 120 degrees it gets in there during the day. That's too hot for me. All right, why don't we just do a test cut here. I have the machine here homed in. I did the preliminary setup on the computer. It's very simple. Follow the steps. They just give them to you, 1, 2, 3. Just go through them, do what they say. It's not too difficult. Even went to the part where you have to install the drivers. If you just read it and follow the directions, it's not that difficult. Mine is hooked right up. I'm running an HP all-in-one computer, monitor, computer, all in one piece, and everything, wireless remote, or wireless mouse and wireless keyboard. And I'm running Windows 8.1 right now. And I had no problem with it. It was my computer. It hooked right on. Now let's turn this on. I'll see if I can set the camera up so you can get a halfway decent view of what's going on down there, and let's see if this thing carves. I did a test run. Everything seems to move, and the limit switches are working. So let's hook her up and see if we can get a video for carving. Alright, I finished the test cut. Other than little fuzzies, and I've heard from other guys that they get that with the MDF. It makes a little fuzzy. Well, it makes fuzzies anyway. When you put a screw in it, it'll make fuzzies. Nice and straight down. It means the machine's aligned well. I think it did a terrific job. Definitely recommend it. Okay, to sum up the build of the X-Carve, I think it was fairly simple. The bags the parts come in are well numbered. The directions you'll find on the Inventables site under X-Carve, under instructions, are extremely good. The videos are helpful. So if you have a problem building this, I don't know. I don't think the only problems I see is in the electronics section, putting the connector here for your limit switches and the automatic spindle control, getting them little pins in the board and then soldering that connector to the board, the pins that it plugs into, is the only difficult parts. And that's, I would say, because maybe a lot of people don't have a soldering iron that small. Mine's a little too large for that. Although I do have a pencil iron somewhere. That, maybe with a smaller tip in that, I might be okay. But at any rate, other than that, keeping your slots here in these slides, right here at the top of your slides, keep all them up. If you notice, they do face up. There's no, one side has like a double slat, and the other side here where your V sticks up for your V wheels, they have to face out. The results for my first carve, at the end they give you a test pattern. I made it a little bigger. The first time I carved it, I moved made the pattern bigger on easel, but it left a little man with a smiley face that goes here down here, and I didn't notice that. When I started carving, it was carving just here because this was off the limit, so I wouldn't carve that part. So I corrected that and just erased the little guy and carved this. That's the first cut. You know, just a piece of old 3/4 MDF I had laying around. One thing I did notice, there was a little triangle up here that broke out, but that's MDF. You get what you get when you try to play with MDF. It'll split and everything else. You put a screw in it if you're not careful. Now, little test cut on a piece of 1/2-inch poplar. I stepped up the speed and everything, and as you can see, that's a pretty darn nice cut. With the proper bits and 2-stage cutting, maybe rough out and all, I think you can darn near replace your scroll saw with this machine. You can get your patterns into easel, turn it on, go watch a nice TV show and come back and you got a nice scroll saw pattern. People that want to cut out things for a craft show or something, once you got the program in a computer, you could put it on a big board and cut out 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them or something. So to sum it up, I would say, first of all, thanks a bunch to Inventables, Zach and Michael and the rest of the team here for letting me build this machine and give me the chance to do a review on it and all. And I think it's a great piece of equipment, especially for the money. If you look at the size of this, you can 31 by 31 area basically to cut on. To purchase a fully ready machine would probably cost you $3,000–4,000. So I think this is definitely a terrific deal. Seems well made to me. Upgrades, dust collection's a definite need. Sitting there holding a vacuum cleaner wouldn't work. So either make your own, or if Inventables could come up with a mount-on dust collector here, that would be great. If you're going to do a lot of heavy cutting, no, I'd recommend just changing your spindle out to DeWalt or Bosch or something. Trim router, in other words. Okay, well, thanks for watching Backyard Woodworking and the Inventables build. Next up will probably be using this machine. I think this is going to replace, or be one of the, I wouldn't say replace, but be one of the most used tools in the shop as far as making signs, etc. and stuff like that. You could definitely use this making house number signs for people. Well, thanks again. Have a good one.